Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about the metal die stamping makeaway kit. So when you check out this kit, you get some metal die stamps here in this box. They have alphanumeric, alphabet, and numbers A to Z and 1 through 0. So they're displayed here. In this kit, you also get a ball peen hammer, which allows you to do some texturizing on the rounded side and stamping with the metal side. And also for this project, you're going to need metal die blanks. You can pick these up at Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby. I have a set of long rectangles and circular blanks, pretty popular for charms or pendants. And 4 different sizes here. And that's all you're going to need to get started today. So a big thing about these blanks is you'll notice that some of the letters are backwards, like the J, the 2 here, the 4, your L, your F, G, P, different letters. Basically any letter that is not a mirror image of itself is going to be backwards, so when you turn over and stamp it, it will be on the correct side. So that's just something to look out for when you're picking out your letters, that they may look backwards, but that's because when you turn them over to stamp with them, they will be correct. So all you're going to need is your dies, your hammer, your blanks, and a hard surface underneath. You don't want anything soft, or it will keep your stamping from making a deep impression. So I have a wooden piece of block here that I'm going to use, as well as my dies. You'll just want to make sure that you get your dies out to kind of see which direction they're going. So if they need to be turned over to be mirrored, then you're going to want to make sure you have them lined up so they're already ready to go. This B here, as you can see, there's not a smaller or bigger side on it, so it can be turned either way when you stamp. But so there's the C and B, which are my initials. So I'm going ahead and lining them up to make sure that whenever I set them down, they are in the correct order with the correct sides facing out. So it'll be easier, so I can just reach for them whenever I get ready to stamp. So now that we have everything ready, we're going to go ahead and move on to the stamping part. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see what's going on. So here we have our metal blanks. I'm going to do the rectangular one first with my initials. So I'm going to pick up the C first, get that in focus. So here's the C. It doesn't matter which way you have it in order to start with your blank. You're going to place it face down. You want to leave a little bit of room here at the edge so that you don't warp your stamp. Zooming out a little bit so you can see. And you're just going to hit with strong strokes. You see that I tilted it back and forth a little bit, and I'll explain that in a second. But here is your first stamp. You can see the C very clearly. Next, I'm going to take my B. You're going to rotate it back and forth, up and down, as you strike with your ball peen hammer, and that will give you a nice, clear letter. If you just hit it straight down, it doesn't always make a clear imprint, so that's why you see me hit it several times, just to get that imprint deep. So the next will be our B, and I'll place the B, making sure that the straight line of the B lines up with my C. So I'll line it up to next to my C. Alright, once I get everything firmly held, I'm gonna go up, down, left, right. So your project may bend when you do that, but it's okay. We'll straighten it out. But you can see that I have a very clear B. When it gets bent like that, you can use your hammer to flatten it out. It's pretty flat, but I'm going to use my fingers to bend it just a little bit more to straighten it out here. Okay, it's pretty straight now. And so that's all there is to doing your set on here. You can still see it's a little bit bent, but that's fine. It gives it a little character. For the next one, I am going to just put my one initial of C in the middle. So I'm going to grab a Sharpie just to make a dot in the very center to give me a center point to line up my dies on. So you can see I gave it a center point. I'm not going to put the bottom of my C in it. I am going to try and line up the middle part of my C on that dot. So I just place it down, hold it firmly in my left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one straight on, one up, one down, one left, one right. And that gives me a very clear letter C. And you can just rub off that permanent marker, and then you just have your C. Alright, so then the next one I'm going to do with my initials again. And on this one I make a couple of mistakes, and I will show them to you as we go along. But so I striking it rather firmly. At one point I let my grip slip on that a little bit, and you can see a ghosting of like a second C on top of that one. And that is just sometimes happens whenever you do more than one strike, or you lift up your die a little bit in the middle of a strike. So just something that's a common error. So I gave this one 3 good strikes. Okay, and you can see my C and my B there. And because this was hit with such hard strikes, it has manipulated the back and made the back a little bumpy, so you can just use your hammer to flatten it out. So here it's flattened. But you can still see the C and B on there just fine. And that's part of the handmade nature of jewelry, is sometimes there are little defects like a ghosting, but it's still perfectly wearable. So these are my 3 charms. So you can see the letters, decently up close, but what I'm going to show you is you can take a permanent marker and go over those indentions, and it will leave some of the black of the permanent marker behind, and that will make your letter stand out a little bit. A lot of times this is done with an enameling pen, but if you don't want to make an investment in an enameling pen, permanent marker can work just as good. But another mistake here too is that sometimes the permanent marker does not come off very easily, so you have to use a little bit of water or rubbing alcohol or nail polish remover just around the top. You don't want to get it down into the grooves, because otherwise it'll pick your color back out. I'm going to have to take this off camera and finish it up, but I'll show you what it looks like at the end once it's cleaned up. So then the next one, I'm going to do the same steps again on this long rectangle piece. So you can see the C and B fairly well if you're looking at it up close. But just to give it a little bit more depth, I'm going to trace over this C and B as well. So I'm just going to rub over this again. And this one came off pretty well, so you can see just how much deeper, more detail there is on there. If you're trying to get a little bit more out of it, you can rub over it a second time, just deposit a little bit more color. And you can do that with any color Sharpie. It doesn't have to be black. It'll just obviously be the color of the Sharpie you put in. So there you go. It's pretty deep now. You can see the C and the B better than just with the plain silver. So when it's hanging, that will be what you could see. All right, and then we'll do it also with this little initial C. This is not quite a deep enough print, or I guess stamp. So this one too will take a little bit more cleanup than just rubbing it off. But you can see the C a little bit better now than you could before. But yeah, I will clean this up off screen, and then I'll, with a little bit of water and a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and I'll show it to you in the next part, where we're going to make this C and B on the rectangular piece into a necklace. So to make this necklace, I'm going to choose this rectangular one just because it showed up the best. But this is what the CB looks like when it is cleaned up, and the letter C when it's cleaned up. But so we're going to use this rectangular one. You'll need your cording with some kind of closure on it. This one is a simple twist together. I'm using an elastic cord on this, so I don't really need this closure on it, but I chose it just as an example if you were using a piece of leather cord. But yeah, so you'll grab whatever little pendant you choose. You'll need a jump ring. You can open this with a pair of flat nose pliers. You'll just want to get it close to the opening of the two pieces of metal. Twist to open it like this. I don't twist it quite far enough, so I end up dropping the jump ring. But yeah, you'll just want to try and get it open just enough to really slip your jump ring onto your pendant. If you twist it too far, you can warp it a little bit. So I close this jump ring, but then remember I need it to be open to put my cord in. But that's what it will look like once it's closed properly. So I'm going to open it back up enough to slip my cord on. Slip your cord on, then you'll just twist it until it closes back up. Just giving it a good squeeze so that it stays closed. It'll be closed like that, and then your pendant will be attached to your necklace. And it'll hang like so, and you'll be able to see your initials. So there's a bunch of different applications. You could use a small, just a little initial for a charm bracelet, a bigger one for a key tag, etc. But yeah, thank you for joining me to discuss this metal die stamping kit. And I hope to see some of your creations once we're all able to be together again. Thanks again for watching. Bye.